First thing I'm going to do is we're going to walk through the iDRAC web UI. So there's a lot of things that iDRAC does. As Kevin said, it's the foundation for everything that we do. It is, it's how all the consoles interact. It's how the scripting interacts. It's what all the OpenManage Mobile, everything comes and goes through iDRAC. So one of the things we're just going to touch on is actually the web UI. I'm going to show you some of the things that are in the web UI. Many of these things can be done in alternate fashions, but I want to show you what we do here. This is our homepage, our brand new homepage. We went from the old black and white. For those of you who haven't seen it in a while, it used to be black and white. Went to the blue and white. We actually have links at the bottom, quick links to get you places if you need things. And one of the things I want to show you is that, again, as we talked about security, we're going to keep talking about security. It's going to ship with root Calvin if you've ordered root Calvin. If you haven't specifically asked root Calvin, it's going to give you your password on a little service tag that you get to go play with and find it at our age. I've got root Calvin on here and I need to change it. So I'm going to go, I'm actually going to keep my default password so I don't irritate anybody else using this particular box. And move forward. Pay attention here. Boom. There comes iDRAC. Previous predecessors to this particular version took about 15 seconds to get here. All right, it took a while. It was painful. You sat there and you watched it spin until it showed up. This, you're looking at about 4 seconds. How did we get there? We went from a single processor to dual ARM processor, 866 megahertz. We went from a single stick of DDR3 to a double stick of DDR4. Why? This is going to increase our performance speed, increase your productivity. If I have to run rack atom commands, if I have to run scripts, anything I'm doing in the background, pull support assist logs, anything like that happens faster in the background, right? And what that gives me is a longer life cycle for this particular version of iDRAC. I can run this through 14th generation, 15th generation, quite possibly 16th generation servers. Why? What does that mean? Is I've got a single code base. So you as an IT admin have one code base that you need to test and validate against, and it runs across all of your servers. So if you've got 5,000 servers in your data center, 1,000 of them are 14G, 1,000 are 15G, and the rest are 16G, you've got one firmware that you validate and stick across your whole data center. Again, trying to make it simpler so that when you do get into a situation where you need to do things, everything comes up faster. So here's a new page. Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so one of the things Kevin stole my thunder on is this thing called lockdown mode. It's pretty simple to turn on lockdown mode. What lockdown mode, again, is going to eliminate the problem we have from a lot of customers is that we got drift detection. Something changed, somebody did something. What lockdown mode does is it keeps you from making changes to the hardware configuration. It's not a complete foolproof golden titanium barrier around your server. It's more like the plastic doorknob that you put on to keep your kids out of the bathroom, right? It can be turned on and turned off. It's pretty simple. The idea is I want to keep lower level admins, or if everybody has root, I want to remind you this system's in lockdown mode. This is a production box. Don't make any changes to it. We've got it in lockdown mode. What that means is that I can't run a rack atom command. I can't run a script command. If I've got a third party, if I've got my one-to-many tools like OpenManage Enterprise, OpenManage Enterprise can't make changes to my box. I'll get a return an error code saying, sorry, the box is in lockdown mode. Can I take it out of lockdown mode? Yes. But again, from a tracking standpoint, I'm going to know who did what time, from where, what IP address, who made what changes. Then, they put it back in lockdown mode. But I'll be able to go back to you and say, you took the thing out of lockdown mode. Why? What'd you do? All right. So it's kind of cool. It's a simple, easy thing that we did. Again, came from the customer request saying, I just don't want drift to happen. Make it stop. All right, so I'm going to take it out of lockdown mode so we can go through some of these other things here.
Are there APIs for that? My question exactly.
API, so I can turn on lockdown mode via rack atom script. Paul, I'm not sure if there's a redfish command. I don't believe, but basically, yes, you can script that. I can say across my entire data center, this is a 14th generation. Hey, turn on lockdown mode.
So
they're role-based administration so that only the senior administrator can toggle lockdown?
So RBAC, yes. So again, everything this is, you have to have root authority to enable and disable. If you've got root access and I have user access, like an operator, I can't turn it on, turn it off.
So
I can't make changes either.
how much of this how many changes can I do as a non-root user?
As a non-root user, it depends on your privileges. If you've got read-only, you're literally at read-only.
Well, if I give them administrator privileges, are they not then root? Or do you have a
We've got
special
variations,
account?
so we're going to follow a lot of the Active Directory and other type config users. So, but if you've got full root, you've got operational, which you can also customize, saying you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that. So it's we could spend quite a bit of time talking about what privileges you can have and what things you can do under.
So ideally, what I would want is a user that can, one user that, or a couple of users or a group that can say, okay, you're allowed to just toggle lockdown mode. Everybody else has to live with their own privileges, and they can't do that.
That's a root. That would be your root users. So if you've got 7 admins in your data center and everybody has root, everybody has access to hit that command.
Okay.
So, I don't know if
that's
we're
still-
going
yeah,
to touch on this and all, but identity management for users, how's that centralized and integrated into other solutions and tracked?
Not clear. I get your question.
So logging into the console, if
Yep.
I have 7 admins, where's that IDS, where's that identity management system, and how do I integrate with it? I don't know if that's your track or somebody else's, but at some point, somebody's going to go in and put an ID in, log in. Where's that?
In other
What
words,
is that authentication service?
Yeah, where
AD
are
or
those
LDAP?
users created?
So in
Where's
other
the-
words,
So,
if I
okay,
have-
let's go to iDRAC settings. Let's go to users. See how fast these pages
So
are loading?
fast.
Yeah.
Boom. All right. This is where I would add my users. Add users, delete users. I can disable users.
okay, so you have directory services, please go there. Local users, if you have 10,000 machines, local users is not what you want to use.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so
AD.
So
AD,
AD and
AD,
LDAP.
LDAP.
Okay.
Yes.
I have 30 machines, local users aren't what I want to use.
exactly.
That's the answer to the question.
Okay. Yeah. We fully authenticate into LDAP and AD.
So is it LDAP,
Sorry.
LDAP over SSL, or is it just LDAP?
It's over SSL.
Thank you.
Yeah. I looked at the panel of experts.
So in here, do you have a group list
Not group
or
list.
a role list?
Let's see here. We would, if we wanted to go back to local users, let's add a user. Then I would be able, this is where I would say, okay, what do I want to do? So as a user role, if I wanted admin, again, everything's checked. Now, if I click on operator, I now have the ability to go in and say, okay, I don't want to give this person system control or sister operations.
So which one's the one that controls lockdown mode?
Lockdown mode is going to be under system control.
So again, under system control, how much,
Is this as granular as it gets?
Yeah, what else
Yeah,
is under
this is-
system
what else
control?
is under
Yeah.
system control? I know it's not just
Yeah, yeah.
lockdown mode, but what else can I change?
Yeah, you can change. System control is going to give me the ability to do configuration changes as well as control power on, power off, reboot.
Okay, for roadmap, lockdown mode is an ACL attribute. A user has the ability specifically for lockdown mode and nothing else.
Yeah, so add another role
Because
called lockdown mode
there
because
is-
you're tying it to.
So
Because
conversation was let me flip that around and see if this is amenable. A super user, if you will.
No.
No.
No. Okay,
So-
no super user.
I can
just
easily
have a
see,
lockdown only.
Yeah, I can easily see there's a system, like there's a event and the security group wants to say lockdown configuration for every server, implement lockdown mode.
Okay.
Lockdown mode is a great idea. The idea is that I don't want my security group to have any other access other than to say lockdown.
Okay. Yep. We're calling it different things. We're thinking that I've got a role that all they can do is lockdown.
Well,
Yes.
more important,
That access is extremely limited.
more significantly, I have a role that can do everything but change the state of lockdown mode.
Exactly.
That the person who can do everything
That
but
would be
change
that would be
lockdown,
the new version of root.
Don't even use the term.
Okay, I got it. All right,
So
we're hitting semantics, guys. I think
I
we're
hate
talking
that
the
you
same
use the
thing.
word root at all.
Okay,
It's users of
point
privileges.
taken.
There,
Yes, point
there
taken.
should be no God.
So you got user role of administrator. There should be administrator without.
Well, not in the universe, just in this case.
Yeah. And it is called administrator. It isn't called root. That's just
You
my
need
own-
one that basically a role is just lockdown.
Okay, understood. And we actually
Well,
have that.
not a role, but a checkbox
Yeah, checkbox.
for
Yeah, so you
the
could add that
roles.
to individual users
And-
that were
and-
administrators, but
I would like just a
They didn't
generic
have to.
role, so no people just select that and they get what they want.
Yeah, but then
I
you have
think-
the user who can only lock down, and then the user who can make changes to the config. So if I want to change the config to a system that's logged in, that's locked down, I have to log in twice.
Yes. Or you get the person without, or it's a break glass, or you have to go through another mechanism. Yes,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of reasons for that.
So another quick question on there. Can you create customized roles in there? You had like the 3 or 4 listed. Can you create?
Yeah, can I
Yeah.
add to the role list?
Yeah.
Can you add to the, well, you would make your operator would be the one.
No, but I want 2
customized.
different levels of operators. I want
Yeah.
some operators that can do 6 of those 10 things, and other operators that can do 9 of those 10 things.
Great feedback. I don't have that option to do today.
On the roadmap.
You would have to do, yeah, you
The-
would have to
the
set
list
up-
of roles
you would have
should
to
be
set up
sensible.
a user, that one particular user would have this 5 things, then that particular user have those other 5 things.
Yeah, just make the list, make the
So you'd
list
have- yeah,
of
you'd have
roles
operator 1,
extensible.
operator 2.
So I can create a role and then assign it tasks, assign it a level.
I hear what you're saying. Good
well,
feedback.
and if you're going that route, you also have to make the roles communicate between all the iDRACs that are in your, because this is just a locally defined
Well,
user role, right?
this is something that I'm expecting I'm going to push down from a console.
Right.
And, so we're saying, add these fields to the database so that I can modify them from outside.
This would be a great feature for OpenManage to actually have it in there, to set all the rules. It pushes it all down to the iDRAC. Everybody has the same set of roles across all 10,000 machines. I'm happy.
And
And then I have Active Directory or LDAP as to do control my authentication.
And Brian, is that in OpenManage Enterprise, that granularity of roles? I know you've got some really good slides on OpenManage Enterprise as far as the granularity of roles going, what they do, and who controls what servers, but I don't think it's going to directly.
We can help on a one-to-many scale control users for the DRAC. Initially, for the first release, we have custom roles. So, like firmware operator, configuration, manager, stuff like that. Custom roles will be coming later in OpenManage Enterprise's release, but I'll show you OpenManage Enterprise around 1 p.m.
Cool, thank you. I'm going to click around to something different that Kevin touched on as well. When we get into configuration, one of the things Kevin talked about was the ability to do this server configuration profile. And one of the things that previously you had before was once you sat everything and you sat through and you went through the F2, F10, and you created everything you wanted to do, you had to run a script to go ahead and pull that profile. What we've done now is give you the ability to say, okay, I want to be able to do that from the web UI. I don't want to have to run a script. I want to be able to do it quickly, easy, and also bring this functionality down to the small to medium business guy, the guy that has 30 servers, right? I don't want to have to know RackAtom or Redfish or any of those type of scripting tools just to use a server configuration profile. So I've got everything here. Where do I want to save it to? Give it a file name. Do I want it to cover everything?
Pull
Which
down
most
the
people do.
location list.
I'm sorry?
Pull down the location type list.
Location is going to say, I want to start local or on a share.
Okay.
What do I want to put it? What do I want to name it? Now, the difference between basic and all these other is clone. Replacement would be I want to capture every single thing on this server. Oh, I want the MAC address. I want the IP address. I want the exact LUN configuration for this particular server so that in case I need to replace it, it puts everything back together. Clone will, of course, comment out MAC addresses. You can use the same MAC address, probably your last day as an admin. It's doable, but not at all preferred.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where we'll comment out on a clone, those type of things you don't want to have. And then, and Paul will cover this as well, we have the option to save that as an XML format or JSON. And then where do you want to save it to? And then boom, you're done. Once I've done this, then I can go back in and say, okay, I want to import one. Again, on a one-to-one small scale, or I'm in a dev lab, this is a real easy, handy feature. One other feature we've got, and I'm guessing by the way the conversation is rolling today, this is going to draw a lot of concern. But here we go. Let's dive in. Where are my BIOS settings? I want to see the BIOS settings on my system without hitting F2. I do not want to reboot my server, but I want to understand what my BIOS settings are. I can actually go in here right now and see my BIOS settings. I can see everything that's in the BIOS. And if I wish, and if I'm bold enough, and I want to change my processor settings, I can change my processor settings.
Yeah, I want to enable VT.
Huh?
Yeah, except you're on the right setting. You just went in the wrong direction. Yep.
I'm saying I can go ahead and make changes, and then I can scroll down to the bottom of my set here and say, okay, apply now, reboot, discard. Now, again, in lockdown mode, this is all grayed out.
No, actually, I want one more mode.
Yes, sir.
I want you to, based on the operating system running, not allow me to do this regardless of lockdown mode. Because if you're going to turn off Intel VT and you're running Credential Guard on Hyper-V or even on Windows, that would actually be a really bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
It wouldn't boot.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to actually inquire of the OS what you're running before you allow certain changes, because there are some that are so dangerous to change, you just shouldn't do them. And Intel VT is one of those that is so dangerous to change, hypervisors will fail to boot. Security features will basically be disabled. You will end up with wide open systems, and that will cause an availability, integrity, confidentiality, compliance concern. It will cause a major incident and red flags to show up in the SOC and the NOC and cause panic. You shouldn't even allow that from here.
So taking that's more into the step of enforcing best practices. And I think on one hand, we need to trust our sysadmins that they know what they're doing. And I know they don't always do that, but on the other hand, it would be interesting from a capability perspective to be able to configure that in this system, to turn around and go, in my environment, I don't want you to be able to turn this switch on if that switch is off, and that is the best practice standard for our organisation, and so you can't do that on any of our systems because that's how we want them configured.
Yeah, I would want a policy-based setting on that.
that'd
But
be
I
interesting.
also want, remember, this is all through the API as well. It's not necessarily users, so I have no idea who may be making the change. It's all through delegate users. So the API shouldn't also be able to do it without doing the query. So you got to think about this as not human users.
Who's
Edward?
got access to that API though?
I think saying the hardware manufacturer has to be responsible for knowing all the permutations of all the operating systems you could be running on it
Yeah.
Realistic.
is a rat hole. They could try, but it would be broken someplace.
Well, you know which
Would you be satisfied with more granular lockdown?
I would be satisfied if basically there's only 4 hypervisors out there that you need to worry about. So, and that's well known, so you know what those are.
But their release schedules and their update schedules and their requirement schedules don't align with Dell's hardware and firmware update schedules. And so you're asking for something that, from experience, I can tell you every time anybody's ever tried it, it has always been broken. And I think an alternate way to achieve the goal you're looking for is for them to say, lock down these settings
Yeah, that would be good, based on a policy, yeah.
that from the manager you push down to the servers. Don't let people locally change these things,
Yeah, I would accept that.
because that way there's no tail chasing.
And then
It's your responsibility to know what the dependencies are, not their responsibility to know what all the dependencies could possibly be are.
Then OpenManage could have the smarts, or a plugin could have the smarts to tell me what I need to do to lock that down.
Oh, yeah, there could be advisories,
Yeah.
but I
Exactly.
think there's a chasing the tail you're asking for.
No, I mean, moving that up the stack to something more powerful, I get.
Yeah,
Putting it in the hardware, agreed. It's a difficult task.
yeah.
But yes, more granular would be ideal.
Okay, we're just writing your roadmap for you, no problem.
Appreciate it. Thank you. You guys are
We'll send you a bill later.
I did want to touch on the logging just because the security of this also good to get your feedback on this as well. Again, this is our this is our lifecycle controller log. This is well beyond the system event log. This is anything and everything that happens to the box, right? So when I logged in, and I logged in as root,
Okay,
and I logged
we
in
are-
as
From the first item, we see a problem.
sure, go for it.
Lockdown was enabled. Should be Joe enabled lockdown.
Yeah, and that is, yeah, you're right. That should be, because I've logged in as root. If it had said Doug, it would have that. But here's everything and all. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
but I
It should
shouldn't have
been-
to correlate
yeah,
across
you're
multiple
right. That should have
entries.
been called out.
Actually, Joe configured lockdown mode from,
Yeah,
IP.
Yeah,
and
from IP
everything.
address.
yes. For just that one, or
Yeah,
change the BIOS
it should have
settings
the fact that
same.
I did all this stuff. That's one of the, that's actually, this is something we should have already, so let me I'll double check
Just a
on
viewer
that.
issue or a
Yeah.
or a logging issue?
Thought we had, yeah, I'll let me back on this one because, Paul, I thought we had that.
Yeah, I mean, the information's there on the screen because
Right,
it's
yeah,
only two
no,
entries
and it
down
should have that detail,
in the entry. Cause
yeah, in the entry, and it should be there. It's either that or this is a different version. I'm working off a development box.
That's
I'm
okay.
apologize. Yeah, it's.
if you
that
don't
level
do it
of
now, put it
detail
on the
should all
roadmap.
be
We can
there.
move
Yeah.
on.
This should all look. It should look exactly like this. It
Well-
should say this guy logged in from here and from where, but
Yeah.
that information should be on every single one of these.
Yep.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's why I'm thinking I've got
Yeah.
an odd rev of firmware, although I am at the latest.
I like the addition of and GUI because I actually want you to say and API.
If it was Rack Atom or WS Man,
It would.
it would give me that additional
Good.
information as well.
That is incredibly valuable.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
it will. Let's see if I've got any GUI virtual console logged in.
It's not
logged
even
off.
incredibly valuable to a customer, but information that a customer may decide to give to us if they do share their logs. One of the things that I don't know is how many people are coming in through scripts to interface with iDRAC. I don't know how many people are coming in through the GUI. For me, it gives me an opportunity to understand where do we focus our resources
Yep.
of
Yeah.
how people are using
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah, if you see the direct login rate going down and the Redfish console rate going up, then it's like, well, making the direct console prettier is a lower priority than,
Exactly.
So one more comment on this is that if I'm shipping logs directly from here to Dell, I need them absolutely sanitized. IP address, usernames, they all got to come out. Machine names, you name it. I got to be able to tokenize them. The best way I've seen that done is someone uploads a JSON file that's a map of things that look like this get changed to this. And you just upload the map and let us take care of mapping it. And you have a pre-bit canned one.
And we may be doing that. That would be more the support assist folks that are doing.
But we would need to be able to
Yep,
see what
I
you're
agree.
doing, otherwise we can't verify it.
Yes.
Yeah. So to that point, let's go there now. There's two ways you can do support assist. One way to do support assist is if you have a quite an abundance of servers, you're actually going to want to use a one-to-many tool like Support Assist Enterprise or our OpenManage Enterprise, or tools that log in and collect all the DRAC data. As you mentioned earlier, I don't want every single DRAC going out to the internet. Okay. But so I want to have an aggregation point, which will then take the data, open up a proxy, and send it back up to Dell. What this is here, this is for the small to medium business guys that want to remove themselves from that trail of, I have to go call Dell tech support, send logs, et cetera, et cetera. They want to be able, so what we have here, this is actually going to use the OS NIC. So I will set this up. I've got a very quick wizard that will say, hey, welcome to Support Assist. Let's go ahead and get you set up. Give me your customer number, your customer name. Let's set up a proxy. Let's set up a username and password. Let's get your DRAC routing through your operating system securely out to the Dell backend, right? This is good for, again, the small to medium business guy that maybe only has a handful of servers but doesn't want to have to deal with a hard drive went down. I need to call Dell and open up a ticket and spend time on the phone. I've got a business to run. I don't really want to do all that other stuff. I'd rather have the ticket opened. I get an email saying, hey, you have a hard drive failed in this particular server. We're going to send out a drive. Where would you like us to send it to? Click, done, right? Great for the small to medium business guys. The same process applies for the larger businesses. Again, and you've got all that set up, but it's set up through a different mechanism. So this is Support Assist through that. Now, you had asked the question of I want to take a look at what I've got. Let me close this. Cancel out of here. Cancel registration. If I want to pull down that list, I will actually go ahead and I can create, I can start a collection. That collection is going to pull down everything that happened on that box. iDRAC is now pulling, think of it as a black box, if you will. All of the detailed information, all the detailed logs. We pull it now for CMC, we pull it for ESXi. We pull a lot of detailed information to help troubleshoot the boxes. Okay. What's in there? Once you pull that file, and if you pull it and you save it locally, you can actually go look at that. There is a very, very cool HTML5 viewer that you can see exactly what's in there. What am I sending over to Dell? I don't want to send this and this and this. Delete, send.
See, no, that's deleting bits and pieces of the file, like the ESXi logs I probably would never want to send you.
Correct.
Because of without them being sanitized. Correct. I'm talking about the iDRAC logs themselves need to be sanitized long before they even get to this collection stage. No one but I should be able to know what IP addresses map to usernames.
Correct.
So as part of this collection, it's not just, hey, I got these 20 log files. That's great information, delete them out. But it's like these 20 log files contain so much data that is something Dell just should never see. It's private, confidential data.
So we have customers that never want to send this stuff up for those very reasons, right?
Agreed, but a lot more of the more you guys add in systems like this, the more you're going to have to see the logs just to even help them debug a problem. And the very first thing your support people do is say, send up a log. Well, if they know the customer, they probably shouldn't be saying that, but in some cases they will, and they always do. And I'm always the one to say, I can't send you the logs unless you sanitize them for, where's your sanitization script? If you're going to build it in, that's a nice little feature of security that you can just add right into the iDRAC. Have it do the processing and have it left.
I think there's a shared philosophy because the legacy way of doing this is load a ton of agents inside the customer's OS. And the feedback was probably, sure, yeah, agents are evil. And so as we go down this path, I like the direction the conversation's taking. I think rabbit hole is the right word to use and not rat hole. But I like the direction it's taking. But our goal is to be able to get as much of this through the embedded as possible. I think it's solid feedback to be able to scrub this. Different customers are going to have different comfort levels with how much data they want leaving. And it's always going to be a trade-off how quickly they want that support from us and how much data we need to give them or they need to give us.
Well, is there a way to disable support assist?
I'm sorry?
This is a manual pull.
No. Is there a way to just disable support assist outright from the individual machines?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Is there a role that says I can turn it on and off?
It's back in the privileges that we went through earlier. It's within that privilege set.
Just like lockdown mode,
yeah.
You need one for just support assist to enable it and disable it, because
Who can pull it? Who can't? Yeah.
if you're in a situation where you can't send logs, having this thing call home, and because it's easier, is not the right way to do it. Someone will just turn it on without even thinking.
Yeah. So again, it's not enabled. You have to go in and enable it. You have to configure it. Then you have to manually go in and say, you have to pull the report and you have to send it. Unless you sign up for the full, hey, I get it. You're not in that level of deep security-minded customers. There are those customers that exist that say, I want phone home, right? But we've got it, and we've got a flexible enough schedule that says if you want to choose to do support home or phone home, support assist, yes, here you go. Here's everything. We can make that automatic.
Well,
right?
you keep on
But if
saying
you don't,
saying me. I mean, I'm thinking API. It is so easy to write a script that will do all this stuff for me, configure it, enable it, configure it, do the data, and send it. That, I don't even want them to be able to do that. That's why I said make it a special role, just like lockdown mode says you just can't do that. Even from an API. Forget user, it's all done automatically. I push a button. Instead, I want all those logs to be shipped to my log analysis tool, and then I can do that from there. I just don't want even that feature available.
Yeah. You can do that.
You can do that today.
But I don't even want the feature available for anybody to see.
Right. And today it's buried in what would be the top level admin for the box. And you're saying more granular capabilities. That makes sense.
Right now, too much has to be done by the top level admin. That's the problem.
But I see where you're going. You don't even want, if you don't want support assist, you want it blanked off the screen.
You got it.
Got it. So that if I say no support assist, it's simply this tab does not exist.
I would rather the support assist actually be pushed up into OpenManage and just let me manage it there,
It is. That's our one.
not on the individual box.
Yeah.
Yeah, so originally, that was the way Support Assist worked. We had other customers request that they didn't want to install the OpenManage Enterprise or Essentials console. Why can't you just make it so that the box can do it? So again, back to my comment about talking to 10 different customers, I get 10 different answers, and my goal is to meet as much as I can for those customers. So again, agree with you. We originally had it up in that proxy, in the OpenManage Enterprise or Essentials. But listening to customers, we decided to go down this path. Like some of the direction you guys are saying, there's ways that we can improve, always ways to improve our tools, to give more. And again, I think that granularity that you guys are getting to, the more flexibility, the more things that you can give an administrator and make it simple, the better off, again, with the controls that you guys are talking about.
So the last thing I want to touch on before Manoj comes up and talks about OpenManage Mobile is something Kevin talked about earlier, the connection view. So connection view, again, while it's in the web UI, basically go here. I will go to my iDRAC settings, and right here it's going to give me sorry, need to scroll down. It's going to give me, again, as long as LLDP is configured on the switch, and if it's a Cisco switch with CD, you got to go ahead and configure LLDP. Once that's configured, it's going to give me, again, from a MAC address standpoint, what switch am I connected to and what port am I connected to. Now, this is great. Will also give me there's a set of shared LOMs and a set of third-party PCIe cards. So it will give me that set of information, so I don't need to go into the hot aisle and play chutes and ladders and try to find where everything's at. I can also get this thing programmatically through rack atom commands. So if I have a whole bunch of 14G servers, I send out a rack atom command that says, give me all of your connection view information, and I'll get a really nice set of information. We're looking to aggregate that in the future to more of a layout, more of a physical graphical representation of that. But right now, this is phase one. Again, it's quick, it's easy, it gets you out of the hot aisle. Just some of the smaller things we've done. Manoj, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. You can take it from here.
So before I go to specific use cases for OpenManage Mobile, let me talk about how it fits into the big picture. Kevin had a slide, one size doesn't fit all. We have users who go to iDRAC directly, and we have users who use a console, and Brian is going to talk about consoles. And we have users who want to automate everything, and Paul's going to talk about automation. OMM, or OpenManage Mobile, is not one more way of doing things. What it does is it takes the existing usage scenarios, whether I go through iDRAC or through console or automation, and it extends the capabilities in all of these modes. In other words, iDRAC, you access it through web browser. What if you don't have a browser? What if you're away and you want to access something very quickly with the phone? Same thing with the console. You go in a browser, you access console, but what if you want to check something quickly and you want to go through a phone? You may not be at your desk. You can log in, you can go to a VPN. And it's the extension of these capabilities where OpenManage Mobile plays a role. And when we do that, when you access iDRAC through a web browser or you access it through phone, you don't want to access probably all of the things you can access from web browser, also through the phone. What you want to do is, something has gone wrong. You want to quickly go in, you want to check what's wrong. Maybe you want to reboot, maybe you want to do something very simple and basic. That's where OpenManage Mobile plays a role. So this is an example of iDRAC, and so when you go through the web browser, you have full access. You can pretty much do the entire deploy, update, monitor, manage. But when you go through OpenManage Mobile, you have access to a limited set of features which you're probably going to use when you are away from your desk and you have a phone, and it's a different user experience, but it gives you a subset of what you see through web browser. So for example, the key things, I want to look at my inventory, want to look at my firmware versions, I want to review logs because something has gone wrong, I want to configure the BIOS or a few things, or I want to reboot, and also I want to access my support assist report. So this is another way of looking at this. It's not your full deploy, update, monitor, manage. These are the things you can do through OpenManage Mobile. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a demo through the phone to see what you can do. Now, before I do that, if you want, you can go to the Google Store or the Apple App Store, search for Dell OMM. You can download the app, and when you install it, you can go to demo mode, and you can see what the capabilities are. And this server is going to be here during lunchtime. Once you download the app, you can go and you can connect with the server yourself, and you can experience it firsthand. So without using more slides, let me just jump to, so I'm going to use examples of a few use cases to see how OpenManage Mobile works. I have a server here, and the yellow light is blinking. So I'm walking in the data center, and I know something is wrong. I have previously connected from this mobile phone to this server. So what I'm going to do is, I come here. There is a Quick Sync to button here. Now, Quick Sync to is essentially a module that works on Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. I can connect my phone to the Quick Sync to module, which then connects to iDRAC. And this way, I can access my iDRAC to the phone. So it's a Bluetooth/Wi-Fi connection. Primarily, it uses Bluetooth, but in some cases, it goes to Wi-Fi when it needs more bandwidth or something on the network. So I know there's something wrong because the light is blinking. So I'm going to come here, and if you can probably hopefully see, I press the Quick Sync to button, and I click on the server. It's connecting me right now. Now I'm connected from my mobile phone to my iDRAC. So you can see the summary here. Health status is critical. You can see power state, service tag. You get all the key information at a glance right here. Now, my goal here is to see what's wrong with the server because the light is blinking. So I go to health status, and I know there's something wrong with the fan right now. Another thing I can do is I can go to the hardware logs, and it tells me the chassis is open while the power is on. So without going through very sophisticated web interfaces, I can check all of this through my mobile phone using the OMM app.
So this is all if you're in the same room and you don't have a device with you to manage it. This isn't like as somebody might do. You're out in the mall and there's an issue and you want to check on it.
So there are multiple ways. This is one example. You could be inside the data center using Quick Sync to module. I can connect to my iDRAC. I could be remote. I can VPN into my management network, and I get the same capabilities.
Okay.
Or I could be remote. I can VPN into my management network and access my OpenManage Essentials, and very soon OpenManage Enterprise. So all of these capabilities are available through the app.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to be clear because we were talking about pushing the button and that.
Yes. Right. The one thing different here is when I'm in front of the server, even if it has no IP address assigned, I can still connect to it. So the example is I rack and stack all my servers, and now I want to assign an IP address and then essentially go to the console and start managing it. I can do it while I'm in front of the server. I connect through Bluetooth, I assign the IP address, and then I walk away. And then my console takes over. If you're remote and you want to access a server, it has to have an IP address already assigned. Otherwise, you can't access it. So in terms of...
I want my servers to have Bluetooth at all.
Right, I mean, it's a valid point. There are some people who are open to that. The small and the medium businesses are currently, we have seen, are more open. We have 50,000 people who have downloaded this app so far, and we have a lot of active users who are using it. So it's not a solution that will fit into every environment, but there are people who want to do whatever.
And again, it's an option you have to order on the server. It is not there unless
thank
you
you.
order it that way. So
Yeah, 'cause-
that module is not there until you say, from an orderability perspective, I want to have Bluetooth or
Yeah,
whatever.
because
Yep.
I don't want to create RF attack
No.
surface.
Yeah. Now, what is nice about this is a customer that may get a system and played around with it and liked it, the system is upgradable in the field. So if they decide that they do want to add it later on, they can upgrade.
Yeah. I understand why you made it. I understand why people like it. I would rather that no customer of mine ever knows such a thing exists.
Now, we're the other side. We want people to know it exists because,
No, you want IT people to know it exists.
yes, yeah.
I never want
Yeah.
the senior executive vice president to know that when I am out with my wife at a Broadway show, that I can fix the server from my seat
Yes.
because he will make me do it.
Well, I mean, you compare it to what's in the past, they're going to call you and not care whether you have the tool and expect you to get up out of your seat to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's 6 of one, half dozen the other at that point.
Yeah, but then I can honestly tweet back, I don't have a computer, I can honestly text back, I am not at a computer, I am at a Broadway show. It is at least 4 hours before I will be at a computer. Find somebody else. And then I will update my resume and start looking for my next job.
I think it's too late. We have had 50,000 downloads, so carries out the bag, so too late to do that. Okay, so this is a summary that we saw. I can look at my firmware details, I can look at the hardware logs, I can look at a lot of this summary. It's and then you can actually also see the console through this. Give me one moment while it. So this was the part about looking at the inventory, the monitoring. It times out after 2 minutes, so. Okay. Hardware logs, we saw that. Okay, so now we're going to go to the virtual console. I'm going to launch the console. Now when I do that, it goes from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi because of the bandwidth that it needs. And it's probably going to take about half a minute. So my inventory, monitoring, we talked about the configuration. I can configure the IP address. I can go to iDRAC GUI. I can go to virtual console. And I can update some of the BIOS also through this application. Jeff, could you see what's it's slow? Okay. That's health status. So launching the virtual console. So this is the case where we talked about eliminating the crash cart. There are multiple options. We have iDRAC Direct, where you can attach the notebook, or you can see the console from the OpenManage mobile app. It's a bit slow. Yeah, it's connected right now. Okay. So if you look at all the options, I can configure BIOS, for example, power options. If I know something is wrong and all I need to do is reboot my machine, I can do that from my mobile device. I can blink the LED. So for example, if I know there's an issue with the server and I find out I cannot fix it remotely, I have to go to the data center and I have 100 servers there. I can blink the LED before I walk in, and when I go in, I know which is the blinking LED server, and then I can fix that. I can launch the virtual console, launch the iDRAC GUI, and I can even run some rack-adm commands to that. So to do the virtual console, I have to go through Wi-Fi, and I'm going to connect here. I want to join this Wi-Fi network, and I can show this to you more slowly during lunchtime if you want to see. But in the interest of time, I'm trying to do it quickly. Now it's going from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi at this point of time. Okay, I'll accept the certificate. And I'm going to launch the virtual console. I have to enter the password, which is standard Calvin. Done. So this time it's powered off, so you don't see anything. There's no signal. But if I power on the machine, I can see the screen on my mobile device. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's even noisier with the lid off.
So it's too loud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to power it from my. I can shut down the machine from my device. Submit, yes, and I can do the power. So at times when you have to reboot the machine, for example, you can do that remotely.
Super useful.
Okay. Power task successfully sent.
I think everybody who's done on-call server support is going, I want this.
Every time I've been in the mall with my family saying, oh, I need to reboot this stupid server, and I have to go all the way back home. Yeah. And I've tried to do it through a traditional VPN, whatever, on my iOS device, and it didn't work. Someone's going to buy you a beer.
All right. I like beer, so that's good. Okay. The last thing I'm going to show you is the
Data
diagnostic.
center goes down. Oh, Keith forgot to lock his phone.
Yeah. The kid really wants to play.
The 4-year-old is really going to cause problems in the data center someday.
Paul is waiting for me to finish, so give me 1 more minute and I'll be done. So diagnostics is one option where I can go. I can look at the OS screen. I can look at the last crash screen. I can actually get the last boot capture of the crash video. But one thing I want to mention is the support assist report. I know there were some concerns about masking and other things about support assist report. But if your system is completely down and not able to access it, but if the iDRAC is active, you can still go from your mobile device to iDRAC. You can download the support assist report on the mobile device. At this point, you cannot view the support assist report, but you can download. And then you can email it to your on-site engineer or to someone else who wants to see the report. This takes about 3 to 4 minutes. I'm not going to go through this and actually download it, but we can do that at lunchtime if someone wants to see how that works. So in summary, this is my window into my iDRAC. This is my window into my console. And I can also run some rack-atom commands from the phone. And it's not meant to replace any of the things that we do today, whether it's iDRAC or console or something else. It's meant to improve the capabilities of the 3 major ways of doing server management that we have today. So this adds on, this makes it more efficient, this makes it more simple, and this makes it easily accessible from anywhere.